synopsis. Go, Liz. You're giving Kelly shit about her synopsis, so let's hear yours.
Okay, this is gonna be better than Kelly's for sure.
Better, bitch.
I will. So Court of Thorns and Roses is essentially the story of Beauty and the Beast, but set in a different world, and they have fairies and like a more in war and a really intense love interest and like a cool sister dynamic and like a power struggle and like moving and like being poor and from like a low-income family and all this crazy stuff happening to her. And that was just a bunch of random words about thrown together. So that's what it is.
That was good. Mm-hmm. I would say though the first book is like Beauty and the Beast. The whole series, it is not. The first one definitely has notes of that and that storyline, but there's so much more, and it gets like 10 times better as you go on in the series.
I would agree with that.
And I think what was like, I don't see if you guys agree, but one of the things that I loved about the book was like how compelling the main character was. She was this, like all of these awesome things happen and it's like this amazing world and it's super well written, but the main character is so likable and she's this like strong, independent person.
Mm-hmm.
And they live a long time.
Forever.
They're immortal.
Are they immortal though because they do age, or are they just basically immortal?
They're immortal. They age differently though, because they have to get to adulthood. But I don't know, is immortal the same as like unkillable? You know?
No.
Because when I think of immortal, I'm like, can't be killed.
Mm-hmm.
Or like
no, they can still be killed.
Right, they can. So I'm like, is immortal the right word, or is there another word for that?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every book I read though, where somebody's immortal, you always find a way to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, like if they're just like hanging out, they're not gonna die. But if they like get killed, they can die.
Okay.
Yes. So, but the thing is that I'm wondering is that, so they age slower, right? So at 500 years old, they look like they're 20. So does it ever reach a point where they just stop like changing physically, or is it when they're like, 5,000 years old, do they look like they're 40 or 50?
I don't know.
No, I think they just have to make it through like adolescence, and kind of like, you know how babies age really quickly, but like once they hit like 25, 30, we all kind of look the same, where there's gradual. Like I think it's really slow, really, really slow in the end, but I don't think they age past, like once they like plateau.
Okay. So still up for debate.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write the book, so I don't actually know, but
I'll ask Sarah Maas about it.
Okay, like, can you please explain the aging process? We're very confused on this.
Let's go through ratings real quick. Liz, go first.
So are we doing like A through F or 5 stars? What are we?
Okay. Yes, Kelly.
Are we rating just the book one, or like the series as okay?
We're only talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses. And then when we get done with the second book, we'll do a review on the second book.
Okay.
So how do we do rating?
A is 5 stars on Goodreads. B is 4 stars on Goodreads. C is 3 stars on Goodreads. D is 2 stars on Goodreads. 1 star is F on Goodreads.
A, 5 stars. A plus, actually. I freaking loved this book.
I'll second that. A, 5 stars.
All right. A.
I think this is the highest rated book we've ever read together.
I think.
I don't know. If we read the second one, I feel like it would be higher rating.
I would give it 10 out of 5 stars for the second one, but we're not there yet.
I don't want to say it's realistic, but it has like elements that like do happen.
Do you mean like it's not like some of them really unrealistic where you like don't really?
Okay. Let me rephrase this before somebody reads this book and is
What
like, what kind of world is this girl living in? It has elements that are realistic, as in like she is one of 3 girls, and there's like a sister dynamic that is like you know sisters like this, or like it's not an unusual dynamic. The trials and tribulations that they go through are like, it does happen to people. Like there are elements of each situation that happen. She just fancied them up and made them interesting to read about.
I would say maybe this is what you're trying to get to. The relationships, the way they're depicted in this book, are very real. Like between the sisters, between like the love interest or, you know, the boy in town, you can really relate to it, even though there's like fantasy involved too.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's now going to be my words forever.
I'm Demanchi, so I'm just, you know. I don't even know how to say that word, but I often
There's a lot of words in this, or names I should say, or like terms that's just for this book that I'm like, I have no idea how to say that. So I
feel like they come out in my head when I'm reading like normal, but then when we start talking about it, I'm like, wait, what?
I was just gonna say, I think that knowing how to say the main character's name was super important. That took me forever to figure out. But it's not based on a real person's name, but it's Feyre. I think it's cool.
I like that name. Another reason I really liked this series in general is because it has so many good memes. Like, and it sounds silly, but it kind of makes it seem like the fan art more real when I have something I can actually picture like the characters as. And they're hilarious. The memes are just hilarious. Maybe
I was surprised at how the art lines up with kind of what I was thinking in my head. Like, you know how sometimes you'll watch a movie of a book you read and you're like, that is not right at all. This didn't even have brown hair, blah, blah, blah. But these ones are like fairly like close.
Yeah, alert. Don't look up fan art. Don't look up memes. Don't even look up the hashtag for this book on Instagram until you've read like 3 of the books, because it's dangerous.
Don't read the back of new books because they slip away.
And if you accidentally send a meme to a group and somebody hasn't read the book, quick follow it up with 19 text messages that are like, don't look, don't look, don't look. It's 10 o'clock at night, so she kind of thinks somebody's dying.
I told you I was sorry.
No, it was fine.
It wasn't even the thing that kills me is it wasn't even really a spoiler. It was just a character you hadn't met yet, and I felt horrible about it. And so I try to fix it, and then I still get made fun of. Consistent.
No, it's just Liz doesn't usually send 10 like ding 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 ding, and it was like, and I thought my phone was glitching. Like I thought it was my phone was messed up because it happened so fast.
Andrea, what was your favorite part about the book?
That's hard because this one was definitely not like my favorite book of the series. I was like totally obsessed with 2 and 3. I don't know. That's hard to say for this one because I know too much.
That's too far. This is like a good point though. Isn't it weird how like this first book is so good, but the next ones in the series are like even better?
Yeah.
It happen with like sequels and stuff. It's very rare, but you guys seem to talk about 2 and 3. Like every once in a while a sequel will be really good too, but you don't also get number 3 to match or even like live up to the bar. Everybody's like, meh, it's fine. But you guys, I think you guys are almost an argument of which one's better, 2 or 3, and then somebody likes 4 or something.
I like 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're dragging it all the way out to 5 with our like for the book.
But I will say, like, when I was reading the first one, I thought it was really good. It's just when you get to 2 and 3 and you compare back, they're like, well, these are even better, which is 18.
When I read the first, I'm just now, like, I don't know how far into the second one I am, but I was, like, hearing you guys talk about 2 and 3, and I was like, there's no way. How do you get better when you're continuing? Like, all this stuff has already happened. Like, what more could there possibly be? And then bam.
Right?
Yeah.
It's also an interesting book to recommend to people. I've kind of had to catch myself of if they ask me what I'm reading right now, I'll tell them, and then I'm like, oh, is it so good? I'm like, it is good. And then I kind of judge them for a second, and I'm like, but should I recommend this? Because some parts are definitely R-rated, more so in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. But
That was probably the worst.
And five.
like
Five
over
is like past R, okay?
What?
R. Yeah. And so it has to be a certain person that who reads, not a certain person. I don't know how to put it lightly, but
Like, don't recommend this book to your grandma.
yes,
You have
exactly.
to have a relationship with this person to recommend it. Like, maybe don't recommend it to your boss or his 17-year-old daughter.
Yes. No.
Did you do that, Kelly?
It was before I got to a couple parts. It was like she was
Kelly.
there, and she always asks about books and stuff, and I didn't recommend it to him, but his daughter I did. And it was
He's
before
gonna be like, why is
she like left, and then I read it over lunch, and I was like, is it weird if I ask for her number and be like, never mind?
It's an odd book to read.
You're older.
Like I had book 5 with me when I was traveling, when we just went to Hawaii, and I was in the airport reading hunched over. I was like, I don't want anyone to see what is going on in this scene right now.
Whenever I was like, I would read downstairs, like hang out with Corey while he watches sports, and every time things got a little sketchy, I would like hold the book closer so he couldn't see my face, and he's like, what are you doing? Please go away.
Corey's gonna start buying large print font books like I did, like I got. Like Andrea obviously can't see them anymore. Kelly's
Just like, and then he like asked me a question. I'm like, shut up. Go away.
Ellie, you just need to keep reading. But
I'm like
I would
really scared.
say, well, book 1 is for sure YA, I'd say, with a couple scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's over the top, or
No.
I don't think it's too bad.
But 2, 3, definitely 5th book. She just put it all out on the table. Get the pun.
I feel like I think this is one of the best young adult fantasy books I've ever read.
I would consider the series collectively to be adult fantasy, if that's a genre.
I didn't think this book was as like risque as 2 and 3 and then 5. I thought this one would just kind of drew you in with the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I definitely like the take on Beauty and the Beast. I thought that was really cool, like the whole time I started reading it. And then I realized that it was like Beauty and the Beast, but
it really set up the background and the whole dynamic of the countries. Are they considered realms?
yeah,
I don't
like I'd say
the history, who's
realm.
running what, who's in charge where, like where the territories or the boundaries are, and like how those are maintained. It really covers a lot of history without feeling like it's a history lesson.
Yeah.
I feel like it prepares you for like the whole series.
I'm gonna say I think it's one of the best fantasy series I've ever read, and it's one of the few books where I haven't been able to put it down. Like in the car, like Brian and I will just be like running. We were just like running errands or going to dinner or something, and I brought it in the car and like read it like on our drive instead of talking to him. So that's like my threshold for like an amazing book.
I definitely stayed up later than I have in months reading this book. I was like 11:30, and I was torn. On one hand, I was like, I really need to go to bed, but then we were just about to go to war. And it's like, there are so many parts like that to where you couldn't end a chapter without wanting to go to the next one. There were no real dead boring points throughout the series.
I definitely started skipping lunch at work, or changing my lunch option when I leave in the morning to something that's like either super fast to eat or like doesn't need warmed up, doesn't need a fork or anything. which I was told to do that by book club in preparation. Like, you're gonna need to rearrange your life for this book. But I definitely like, I'm like, there's no time. I would rather read or something. I'll watch the clock and be like, 2 more minutes, I gotta finish this chapter.
So in conclusion, A Court of Thorns and Roses will impact your life, make you not want to sleep or shower and spend all your time reading, but it's totally worth it.
You might even lose some weight.
You will skip meals. It
You
might
won't even
help your relationships, depending on if you take notes.
Oh my god.
My mom watches these.
Our aunt watches these. Oh my god.
Maybe Anne's gonna read this now. You don't know.
Maybe she will. Let's do it. Spoilers. Let's go.
What did you guys think of the ending?
Okay, what was the ending? I don't remember. There's too many.
Well, they went home from under the mountain.
So the big ending thing for me, I remember, is like Amarantha dies, right? And then Feyre's like in bed with Tamlin and she feels like a tug, right? And she goes out and talks to Rhys. And he like talks to her and then he just like turns into gets his wings and he flies away.
He turns into a bat, is how I think.
Into a bat. And then she goes back
to
Springport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They talk on like a balcony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that like I hated the whole like when they're under the mountain and Tamlin has a chance to like save her or try to get away or to pass codes or anything to her, right? And he just is like, nah, I'm just gonna make out with her. Like
Tamlin was a little bit, to be honest.
He was so like unaffected by her presence there. She thought there was a spell on him. But no one else had problems helping her out or at least cheering for her.
Like, yeah, Lucien and Rhys.
I had to protect you. I'm like, no, you did not.
Mm-hmm. I think the turning point for my dislike of Tamlin was when they were at Springcourt and Rhys came and Tamlin was begging for her. I don't know, that just really rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, he doesn't seem like, what?
My turning point was even earlier.
Wait, everyone, Kelly, you have to say your turning point. This is my favorite.
So it's not called calamari. It's like
Calamay.
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 Okay. So it's like this mating thing for High Lord. It's like how they breed. But she's not supposed to go. And she goes because she's like, I want to see how this goes down. Blah, blah, blah. And she is human, and a human is not supposed to be in this realm, but she's with Tamlin, so obviously like she's allowed, but he's not around. And I don't know what it was. These 3 fae or fairy, I don't know what they were. I don't remember. They like grab her and they typically kill humans, blah, blah, blah. And they're picking on her and she like trips and falls down in the woods and then enters Rhys. And then I was like, marry that guy. Ditch this guy and go with him. He was wearing like all these dark clothes and he was like just kind of creepy in the woods. And then she doesn't even ask about him. She didn't even ask Tamlin who he is. And I was just like, nope, switch. That was my turning point. I thought.
Kelly will go with any strangers. If you just like are handsome and show up in all black, Kelly doesn't care what rumors there are about you or like how cool you are.
She's just like very powerful. And then he was like, all right, good luck, little human girl.
We totally discussed, we were like, Kelly has to be looking at fan art. How can she already like Rhys? We were totally skeptical. We're like, she pulled a Courtney.
I thought I was so impressed with Feyre under the mountain. Like, she's this human among these fae and these magical creatures and this huge nasty worm. And she gets by, like, just based on, like, smart. And she can't even read. And she still gets, like, by on all of this. Like, I was so impressed.
He cheated. Like,
yeah, I know.
But I can't believe she didn't pick up on that. Because she was like, why does it keep doing that? Why does it keep doing that? I'm like, Rhys, the thing on your arm.
Yeah. The other, but like even when she ate the worm, that was all her by herself.
Mhm.
Like, that was impressive.
It was.
And I love how she's still like defiant when she throws the bone at Amarantha. Like, that's when I really liked Feyre. It's like when she has that like attitude and she threw the bone. I'm like, oh, okay, I like her.
I liked her when like Amarantha cheated and like tried to kill her anyway. And she kind of just took it and was like, you know what? I played fair and square. I mean, it wasn't that interesting, but I liked her at that part.
It was good.
It was interesting how she like stayed alive through that. Like she went through the arm thing, like the tattoo, and stayed alive. And then they like resurrected her. I thought that was cool.
That was cool. What about so I want to know. So, you know, like halfway through the book, Tamlin finally sends her away after Rhys comes and is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, Amarantha's looking for her. Like, why is she here? And Tamlin finally sends her away, right? And she goes willingly. Would you guys have left?
I mean, I would have already dipped out because I found a guy in the woods, so.
I don't think I would have at
Irrelevant.
that point. I would have been like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think I would. It's kind of hard because she wasn't going back to really anything. Like, I mean, though she had her sisters, it wasn't that they had the, you know, the best relationship that she was like longing to get back to them. I probably would have been more along the lines of, hey, can I just go live in town?
Yeah. Can I just have my
you know, Liz, would you?
Kind of like a toss up between, I mean, going back to where she lives and staying.
Yeah.
It's not like I want to find her.
Yeah, I think I would have stayed. I would have been like, screw you, I don't want to listen to you. Like, I'll do whatever I want. I like fairyland. There's spring all the time here. Why would I leave?
I do think it's weird he sent her back, though, now that I think about it, because if anyone could have protected her, it would have been the people in Prynthian, probably whatever it's called, like at his house. And he's like one of the stronger ones. So it's like, why would he send her to the mortal realm with like nobody, or the mortal side of the wall with nobody there? I feel like the safer thing would have been to keep her. Because I mean, obviously the Claire thing, Amarantha can cross over pretty easily.
He just needed her to say, I love you. He didn't even try that hard. I mean.
Oh, there were 2 days left and he just let her go back. Like, I was like, you could have tried for 2 days.
You could have held out for 48 hours and protected
her. I would have gotten her some flowers or something and just be like, hey, I love you. How do you feel about me?
All day. If you tell them enough, they'll believe it, you know.
Like, I really love you. I love you a lot. Like, just throw it out there.
He has a lot of shortcomings, I think, when it comes to like the emotional connection that they talk so strongly about. But I feel like theirs was mostly lust. And then he like just lacked. Like, it's like he just one more step further and you'd be cool. But instead you just stop there and I'm like, yeah, well, you suck.
Right? Plus, guys do it every day, like convince girls that they love them. Like, what? Why can't Tamlin do it? Like, mortal boys do it every single day.
Have you seen those memes?
Yes.
Tamlin tampon.
What?
If you try and type Tamlin into your phone, it autocorrects to tampon, and there are memes about it.
Oh, that's sad, but also fair.
Oh my gosh. Well, overall, fantastic freaking book. I loved it. Great recommendation, Liz. It was even a book club book. We all just read it on the side. It was our side book. Our side chick.
Kelly was
I love how
forced,
this happened too. Because like I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is so good, but I'm not gonna read it slow enough for book club. So I told you guys to read it, and then Madeline got drunk and bought the book and had it sent to Andrea's house. And then
everyone should join with me.
Yeah, and then the three of us were like, oh my God, Kelly has to read this too. So then I think I got drunk and sent the book to Kelly's house.
Yep.
After I remember I was like, I don't think I'm capable of reading 2 books at once. And they were like, don't care.
Challenge.
Here's a book.
Did we even tell you it was coming? Or yeah, because we told you it was a self-help book, remember?
Yeah. I thought it was like an intervention at first. I was like, I don't even drink that much anymore. But, then they were like, it arrives tomorrow. You have to start reading right when it gets there. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. And then you guys all like went silent. Like I only had like 3 messages from book club on one platform of social media. And I was like, what are these people doing? I usually like get done with patients and I have like 86 text messages, 3 direct messages on Instagram, and like a slew of Snapchats, but nothing. I was like, all right, I guess I gotta catch up in this book.
That is a good point you brought up, Liz. I don't think I would recommend this for book club because I think it would have been really hard to read just a set number of chapters a week.
We would have
I
kept
would've-
extending it, sure.
Yeah.
I would have pulled a Courtney and I would have said, screw it, and just read the whole book.
Just read whatever you want.
Yeah. Courtney doesn't have to follow the rules. Why do I?
Well, there you have it. A Court of Thorns and Roses. Read it. Yay!
Unless your grandma, don't read this.
Yes. Unless people kissing and holding hands freaks you out, don't read it.
Yeah, unless you're gonna see this person, you don't want to have an awkward relationship with them.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And don't read it in front of your husband.
Advice from book club.